If you owe $50,000, $100,000 or more, you may have heard that there's a 10-year statute of limitations for the IRS to collect your tax debt. But here's the problem. Most people misunderstand how it works and have bad assumptions on how to calculate it, which can cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. In this video, I'll explain exactly when the IRS debt expires and when it doesn't. Hi, I'm Bob Jablonski with Jablonski Tax Relief. We help taxpayers nationwide solve their IRS problems, including dealing with IRS debt, levies, liens, and all kinds of other IRS problems. Yes, the IRS generally has 10 years to collect the tax debt. This is called the Collection Statute Expiration Date, or CSED. The 10-year statute usually starts when the tax is officially assessed. Now, here's the important part. It's not 10 years from when you filed, and it's not 10 years from when you receive a notice. It's 10 years from the assessment date, and it can be extended beyond that date. So let's talk about what is an assessment date. The assessment date is when the IRS formally records the tax debt on its books. And this could happen when you file a return and you show the taxes due. Or it could happen when the IRS adjusts your return. For example, after an audit closes. Or it can happen when the IRS files a substitute for a return on your behalf. That's when they file the return that you didn't file. All of those things will create assessments, and those dates are all independent. So you could even have more than one assessment date for a year. You could have the original date you filed, and then when it was changed during an audit. Makes it a whole lot more complicated, huh? Keep in mind also that every tax year has its own separate statute clock. Everyone has a separate date. So you're having to track all of those different dates for all of those different years if you have multiple years. Let's also talk about what can stop or extend that 10-year clock. This is where taxpayers get into a lot of trouble, and it gets really complicated to calculate. Certain actions can pause the 10-year statute. This is called tolling the statute. And here are common events, not all of them, but the common events that stop the clock temporarily. One is when you file bankruptcy. Another one would be submitting an offer in compromise. The good part is you may have a settlement. The bad part is if you don't, you've just extended that 10-year statute. Another one would be requesting a collection due process hearing or living outside the U.S. for extended periods. Finally, another one might be military deferments. An example of this would be you submit an offer in compromise, and from the date it's received until the date it's denied is 9 months. Well, that's 9 months that's going to be added to your statute plus an additional 30 days. So the expiration date, it now moves out 10 months from the date it was before. So let's assume that you go to those 10 years. Will the IRS ever extend it beyond 10 years? Generally, the IRS cannot extend collection beyond 10 years. There are some cases, like, for example, you agreed to extend it, there was fraud, and there could be some really rare circumstances. But for most taxpayers, once the statute expires, the debt becomes legally unenforceable. So what's going to happen when the statute expires? There's a few things that'll happen. First of all, the IRS can no longer legally collect that tax debt. The balance is going to get written off. And often what I see and what I do when I'm looking at transcripts is the balance is being written off by the IRS a few months ahead of the collection statute ending. They know it's coming and they're writing it off. Most levies have to stop, and most liens are going to be released. So all of these events are going to occur when the CSED expires. Liens can be extended by the Department of Justice, but in general, liens are going to be released. So the big question comes up, should you wait it out? And that's a big question. Should I just wait the 10 years and wait it out? Sometimes the answer is yes, but often it's no. Typically, waiting out will work if the statute is short. You can prevent enforcement. If you're going to get levied, you may not want to try to wait it out. You might want to get into a payment plan versus finding an empty bank account or an empty paycheck someday. You're not triggering any tolling events. You don't want to wait it out by filing a collection due process appeal, which just tolls the statute and extends it. You're not doing yourself any favors or getting yourself any closer to the end line. You don't need to sell property or refinance property. And you don't have passport restrictions. They're not an issue. Like if you want to travel overseas, you have passport restrictions because of the amount you owe, and you need to travel next summer and you just want to wait it out. Well, you're probably not going to travel if your CSED is 3 years from now, right? I mean, the CSED is going to have to expire first. For many high balance taxpayers that I work with, waiting without a strategy can lead to bank levies, wage garnishments, liens being filed, and a revenue officer involvement, which typically means all three of those things are going to happen once a revenue officer gets involved and you're not dealing with. You're going to immediately have a lien filed. You're going to also get levied and have wage garnishments if you don't deal with the tax issue. So the statute is important, but it's really only one piece of the strategy. If you owe $50,000 or more and you want to know what your actual expiration date is and whether waiting makes sense in your situation, I offer consultations where we review your transcripts and we map out options. To get started with a free consultation to discuss your situation, I'll put the booking link in the description as well as the pinned comment below. Please also click on my video that shows how to stop a levy if the IRS takes enforcement action prior to your statute expiring. Also, please remember to like the video so others can watch it and subscribe to my channel for more IRS topics in plain English, as well as leave a comment below with any questions you have relating to IRS problems.